Have you ever wondered how someone can scale from 0 to 100K per month without burning out or selling their soul?
90% of my decisions come from just instinct and I just go with the flow. I'm typically not the most organized person or prepared person. Place yourself in a situation where you cannot afford to fail. So that for me, dropping out was like, okay, there's literally no plan B. Like if this doesn't work out, there's literally nothing that's waiting for me. Like I am completely screwed. This 1 year, I didn't have any more boots, like winter boots left. Mine were broken, they had a hole in them or something, so I needed to get a pair of boots. My mother couldn't afford a new pair of boots. So what she had to do is take the neighbor's boots. And that neighbor was a girl that was my age. She was like 10 years old at the time. And I had to wear her boots at school. And they were like pink flash. They had like pink fur around them and everything. And I remember just being so embarrassed. Me mentally, I will never give up. I'll always find a solution and everything.
What is a popular business guru tip that you think is total BS?
Follow your passion.
Okay, what is up, beautiful people? Once again, we are back with the Coffee with Kofi podcast. And this time, have you ever wondered how someone can scale from 0 to 100K per month without burning out or selling their soul? Now, Oliver right here, he has cracked the code. And today, he's spilling it all, right? Now, before we dive in, Oliver, I'm curious, what's something people don't know about you that would really surprise them?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this mini podcast. I'm very blessed and very grateful for it. One thing that people don't know about me that might surprise them, that's a good question. I think I'm on the outside, people might think I'm very much, because of my engineering background, they think I have a plan for everything. Like we were just talking about it right before we started recording. When I record my YouTube videos, you would think that I'm someone who would have a game plan for everything. I'd be very like organized and stuff like that. But I would say 90% of my decisions come from just instinct and I just go with the flow. I'm typically not the most organized person or prepared person. I'm more so of the style of like, let's just go with the flow. Let's just trust my gut, my instincts. And I think that has been something that I've carried with me ever since I started to all the way up today to the come up.
Holy cow, dude, that is crazy. So you just lead with intuition. And it's that is actually interesting because it is not something I would definitely expect from you. Because, bro, like you're very like data centric and everything as well, too. So I'm wondering, like, how do you play with that? I'm just flabbergasted, to be honest. Like, how do you play with that? Like, how does that come to play with your data centric style and always wanted to like follow things in a specific manner?
Mm-hmm. So I think recently I've been getting more into the whole data-driven decisions. I do believe some things you cannot trust your emotions or your gut. For example, we are really scaling ad spend right now. And at the amount that we're spending today, which is about $450-500 per day, I cannot trust my instincts. I cannot say I believe this ad set will perform better than the others because I visually like it. I prefer it. So when it comes to things like that, yes, I'm very data driven. I did start tracking everything, which I do think is very important. But when you're just starting out, because we're going over the whole story of 0 to 100K per month, at $0 per month or less than 10K, there's no data. Like you don't have enough data. You have no idea what you're doing. And I believe at that point, trusting your gut, your instinct, and just doing what you feel is best, at least for me, is where I've seen the most progress and the best outcome, the best results in my actions. Because if I deep down don't believe in what I do, but maybe some guy on YouTube who has years of experience is telling me, hey, you should do it this way. But I, deep inside of me, I'm like, I feel like I prefer doing this instead. I feel like that's going to play into my emotions and the way I perform.
That is very interesting. How important would you say it is for you to believe in what you're doing? And no, because there's a lot of people on the internet that give people like you and I a bad name, right? Where it's like, do this, do that, do this, do that, and then you just keep it going. And especially since you're also in a space where you also coach and teach other business owners just like you and I, to
Yep.
also like scale their businesses and everything as well too, in almost a similar like a light, but not really, which is why I absolutely really like love you and what you actually do with Growth Solutions. How would you say it's really important, like for you to believe in what you're doing?
Very much so.
Mm,
I'm a big believer, and yes, I'm not saying like go into things completely blind and don't take any advice, don't learn anything, because obviously it's going to be very difficult to scale and see results from it.
mm,
I just believe I'm take like a step back, look at what everyone is doing, make a decision based off the information that you have, and
mm,
just go with it. Okay,
mm,
things might not work out at the beginning, and I think that's okay. I think
mm,
many people are so stuck in this mindset of like, I need it to be perfect from day one. So
mm,
I'm not going to start until I listen to Kofi's, all of his episodes, until I listen to Oliver, until I purchase this course, until I do this.
mm,
And then once I have all of the information, then I'll have the perfect sort of roadmap to my entrepreneurial journey. But in reality, no matter how well prepared you are, things will always go all over the place. And you
mm.
cannot plan the unexpected.
Yeah.
So I do believe at the end of the day, if you trust yourself and just trust that, like, no matter what happens, whether it's good or bad, I will be able to get through it and just make it happen.
Mm,
I believe that's where you get the most power. And that's what I've held with me since day one. It's like things
mm.
will go to things will be. I don't know if you can swear on this.
Oh, you
I was
can.
gonna.
Don't worry,
You
you
can.
can. Feel free. Yeah.
Things will go to shit, and it's just
Mm,
inevitable. Like that's like the process of running a business. But that's how
mm,
you learn. Okay,
mm,
you don't. I judge a successful person or someone who has done very well by
mm,
the mistakes that they made. It's like that famous quote in Wolf of Wall Street. I don't remember exactly what he says, but
mm,
I want you to trust me based off the losses that I have. Okay,
mm,
because those are the ones that really build habits and teach you lessons.
mm,
Okay,
mm.
so that's kind of how I view things.
Dude, this is the one thing that I love about you that also surprises me and a lot of people. Bro, you don't I don't know how no, actually scratch it. I do because I have met a couple of them. You do not act like a typical business owner that makes $100,000 a month. You really don't. You're kind of like the everyday guy to a certain extent. It's like people would not realize that. Like how what does that even look like, bro? Like I'm curious, like what do you do when you first wake up? Like how does a day in the life look like for 100K per month agency owner?
Mhm. So first off, just to touch on what you said,
Mm,
um, I think it's very important. Like it's very easy to look at other people on
mm,
social media and see that this person is doing X in the morning. His routine looks like this. He acts this way because now he has money. He buys Rolexes, drives fancy cars, and stuff like that.
mm,
So I automatically have to assume my new identity to be like that person. And I
mm,
think that's something that I've always tried to avoid because
mm,
deep down it's not me.
mm,
Okay. Whether I make 10K a month or 100K a month, I will still wear my same Walmart t shirts. Like, I'm good with this. I don't need anything extra. So,
mm,
staying true to yourself, I think, is very important. And I
mm,
think this will just tie back to what we spoke about earlier, which is
mm,
just trusting yourself and not trying to play a persona, but rather just, be yourself and do what you think is best.
mm,
To answer your question, my routine, every day is different. I would say my routine today is very different than how it was, let's say, a year or 2 years ago.
mm,
Today, I'm mostly in meetings. So I
mm,
wake up. I personally like to work out first thing in the morning. So I'll wake up super early, super early, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
mm,
First 2 hours of the day, just eat, go to the gym, work out, come back. First hour or two will be just fixing problems. So
mm,
whatever is most urgent, I will
mm,
fix it. And then from there, it's just mostly meetings and just making sure the whole team is, doing what they're supposed to be doing.
mm,
I think I've done a good job at really outsourcing myself.
mm.
And if I wanted to, I could literally just book a vacation and not work for the next 6 to 12 months, and we would still be making money. And
Wow.
that's how I've always envisioned running my business.
Mm,
Does that mean I want to take a 12-month vacation? No. Like, I
mm,
love working, I love what I do.
mm,
It's just I never want to be a key piece to the company. I want it to
mm.
run without me, and I want to have people be sort of replacing me to my day to day. So,
Man, that is very scary.
mhm.
Very scary because it's like how a lot of us we have a lot of us we have like this sort of like almost control freak nature, especially when it comes to your business, because your business is like your baby, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you can never know where Chad or Paul will, like, fuck up something for the business to not go to where it needs to go to.
Very true.
How do you manage that? And how are you able to, like, know that things will, like, keep on going without you being the key piece when
Hmm.
you're the one that built this is you are the sole reason this exists today.
Yeah. So, very good question. So, when you find talent that is worth having on your team, you'll quicker realize that that talent is better at making decisions than you are. So,
Mm,
even though my company is my baby,
mm,
when it comes to, let's say, appointment setting,
mm,
I wouldn't classify myself as being the best appointment setter, the best person to get appointments. And you reach, until you meet someone or you hire someone who's able to do that specific role better than you can,
mm,
I think it becomes very hard to let go and to trust someone else. But when you do find that person, that A player that's able to just replace you and do an even better job,
mm,
then you realize you're like, okay, so I'm not like, I hope I don't lose this guy, because without this guy, then my company goes to shit because he's so
mm,
much better than I am.
mm,
So I think if you find poor talent
mm,
and you still find, well, if you find talent and you still find yourself micromanaging them and just making sure everything's correctly and they're not fucking up, I
mm,
think that's already a sign that maybe that's not the right person for the position, or maybe you just gave him too much responsibility and he still needs to be trained under you. But
mm,
ideally, you want to hire talent that does a better job than you can. And I think I've done a very good job at doing that. So I have a head of fulfillment. He mostly works with my clients.
mm,
I myself, I do like working with people, but I feel like I'm not the best person just to, understand people, be there for them, listen to them, things that are very important in coaching. But
mm,
I found someone who's very good at, having those types of relationships with our clients, which is
mm,
why he's my head of, success with my clients.
mm,
When it
mm,
comes to sales, I do think I'm a pretty good closer. And I think sales is the one thing that I've personally struggled to outsource. I think that's the only thing that it's very hard for me to let go.
mm. Man, that is, bro, you just really, like, dropped a lot in there. Before before I even come to the sales part as well too, I am wondering. So in this situation where um you've pretty much, outsourced this to people, getting this type of talent, people that are better than you in, like, specific roles. I'm reading this book called Profit First, where and Mike talks about having reverse handcuffs in business, where you give, like, somebody within your business has so much knowledge and talent that you give, like, power to that person to, like, pretty much run that section of your business.
Hmm.
And pretty much now the person has so much leverage that the person's like, hey, give me this or I walk away, and you're kind of fucked because,
Yeah.
like, that person is in that situation. How do you navigate your business to make sure things like that don't happen, especially given the way the agency space, it's very volatile in the types
Hmm.
of talent that keeps coming in and going out of, like,
Yeah.
agencies.
So I think it's very important that you have a solid understanding of every single department in your company. So
Mm,
let's say I'm running ads for local clients, local businesses.
mm,
My objective is not going to become the best media buyer out there and to know everything about ads. Just enough to understand what's happening in the company and that that person doesn't have 100% of
mm,
the power over me.
mm,
At a skill set, let's say 1 out of 10, the guy I hire might be a 9 out of 10.
mm,
I might be a 6 or 7, depending on what we're talking about. So it's
mm,
not like I'm completely blind to one whole department, because I think that's
mm,
just irresponsible. I think if you're running a company and there's a whole department that you as the founder don't have like a somewhat of an understanding of how it runs, and
mm,
that you absolutely need this person, otherwise the company like ceases to exist,
mm,
I think that's just irresponsible. I do. That's why, like, when I coach my students, I always tell them, I'm like, look, don't try to become the best media buyer and learn everything about Facebook ads.
mm,
We'll give you a media buyer. We have those on our team that can just take care of the ads for your clients.
mm,
But does that mean you should just hand 100% of the responsibility to some random person and you just like turn your brain off and not try to understand the basics of how to run ads? I think that's just irresponsible and stupid.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And I agree with you as well too. I love that. Okay. And
Hmm.
now you're talking about the sales part too, where it's being like the hardest thing for you to outsource. So pretty
Yeah.
much you're the CEO and the CSO in the situation of your company. Why is it so hard for you to outsource? And what do you think is holding you back from outsourcing it?
Um, so my main background is sales.
Mm,
I my very first job, well, this was while I was in university. I got a door-to-door knocking job. So I knew nothing about sales.
mm,
And while all of my friends in college were getting internships at
mm,
some engineering firms, engineering companies,
mm,
I took a leap of faith and I said to myself, I want to learn how to sell. Because
mm.
I figured selling is going to be a pretty important skill in life, whether I'm selling products or just trying to sell myself to a employer or an idea or whatever.
Mm.
So I took a leap of faith, started door knocking, did a whole summer of that, got a full blown training. I was knocking about 100 to 150 doors per day. So that's
Wow.
100 pitches every single day that I was doing for a whole summer.
Wow.
And by the end of it, I finished, I think, top five in the company for the whole summer as a first year like sales rep. And I
Wow.
quickly understood that sales is something that I'm naturally pretty good at. I
Mm,
had the skill set, and I think with proper training, I became pretty good at it.
mm,
And I transferred those skills to the online space. So I went from selling door to door to now selling over Zoom calls, which is basically the same thing.
mm,
And I just believe because of my background, my experience, I'm pretty good at sales. So
mm,
for me to going back to what I said to you earlier, if
mhm.
I'm a 9 out of 10 and I want to replace myself, I need to find a 10 out of 10 because now
Yeah.
my skill set is here instead of being here.
Yeah.
So for me to find better talent than me
Mm,
is difficult. It's not
mm,
easy. And also in my case, the way the business runs, we're very sales heavy, so very
mm,
front end heavy.
mm,
So acquisition is has to be on lockdown. That is one
mm,
thing that cannot be slacking.
mm,
So that is why I spend, I'd say, 70% of my time, 80% of my time on the sales part. Because
mm,
if sales goes down, then my company will take a big hit.
Man, sales above all else, like what Hormozy likes to say. He always says sales above all else. I like that.
Exactly.
I like
But
that.
I do think there's a lesson in there for me, which I've realized in the past couple of months,
Mm,
is in business, the way I view it is that there's two ways of operating. There's the front end and the
mm,
back end. So
mm,
some people might be very good at front end, which is client acquisition. So they can run ads, direct marketing, acquire a bunch of clients, close deals, and make a bunch of money.
mm,
But when it comes to the back end, whether it be like retaining clients
mm,
or being able to upsell existing clients,
mm,
they might be lacking, which is where I found myself to be. We're very good at front end acquisition, but
mm,
when it comes to back end, I don't have that many offers. I haven't spent enough time on that.
mm,
So even though in a month I might cash collect 100, 150K per month,
mhm.
the next month I basically start back at zero and I have to redo the entire process. And
Wow.
what I'm slowly learning is that there has to be a balance.
Mm,
I still believe you should start with a front way of operating because learning sales is probably the most important thing.
mhm,
Because if you lose all of your clients, you can just run it back, run ads, close those deals, and just get it back to where it used to be.
mhm,
But being able to retain those clients and being good at fulfillment,
mm,
and whether it be like a monthly ongoing service or having different types of upsells and stuff like that,
mm,
I think that's just as important. And I do believe that if I had that a bit more on lock, I
mm,
wouldn't have to be stressing as much as I am right now about sales
mm.
because I could rely on the back end payments
Yeah,
for my
dude,
company to survive.
that is impeccable, to be honest, because it's like that. How do you manage to um how do you manage to keep your profits up and keep things going with that type of model? Especially because right now it seems like you've pinpointed a weakness in the model that you're running, which now you're trying to strike that balance, right? How do you maintain the profits to make sure it's not just an offset of revenue that just like masking everything? Because there's a lot of agencies in which we know of and even don't even know about making 400K a month, 500K, 800K a month, 750K a month, and they go
Mhm.
belly up.
Yeah.
And it's all because profits were just not there. How are you managing that with the way things are right now with Grow Solutions?
Yeah. So that is like what I was realizing is as we're upping ad spend, we're getting more clients.
Mm,
when I first started the business, I always said to myself, I am not going to think about margins. Okay.
Mm,
Yes, I could close the deals myself. Yes, I could fulfill for my clients and do all
mm,
these things and save more margins, but that's not the objective. I
mm,
like to view myself as someone who's making 500K a month, a million a month.
mm,
And I'm like, is a founder who's making a million per month closing deals and taking sales calls? No. So
mm,
I've always positioned myself that way. So at the beginning, margins has never been really a main concern of mine.
mm,
Now that I'm getting to a point where, numbers are getting a bit bigger and we're a
mm,
bit more stable and I know what I'm doing, now I'm focusing on the back end, which
mm,
is sort of related to what I just spoke about, which is when you only focus on the front end, you have ad cost, you have your fulfillment team, the
mm,
closers, and all of these things. And typically it's more expensive to onboard a new client than
mm,
it is to retain a client.
mm,
So because of that, your margins will take a hit. And the idea is that if you do have an impeccable backend system where your clients are staying there and you don't have to repay the cost to acquire a new client every single month,
mm,
naturally your margins will go up,
mm,
which is
mm,
what we're focusing on today. I
mm,
wouldn't say my margins are bad because our ROI on our ads are pretty good,
mm,
which I think one other thing that has helped me a lot with my margins is having a personal brand, having my YouTube. We
mm,
get lots of leads naturally, organically through my YouTube.
mm.
And those obviously are not, I don't have to pay any ad spend for that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that just saves me a 25 to 30% in margin when it comes to acquiring a client through organic.
Wow. Wow. Bro, that is awesome. That is honestly awesome. And I love that for you. Like, thank you so much for being transparent as well too with this because and this is what is really valuable for like, viewers and stuff here, right? Because it's like a lot of people just see like 100K a month, 150. Oh, I want to get that, I want to get that. But there's so much that goes into just running business that they would not consider at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sharing this, I'm sure it's also going to make people think twice about the things that they need to put in place and what to do before they get to this level or even 5K or even 10K. Bro, I want to go back to like something you said, which I found very interesting, which is in terms of like your sales part. In you doing door knocking,
Mm-hmm.
that is a painful thing to do. 100 to 200 doors a day,
Mm-hmm.
just door knocking the entire time. You could have done anything. You could have done anything else in the space of sales.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to go and do one of the most painful things, which is door knocking?
No pain, no gain. You know what they say. So,
Uh,
well, yeah. Jokes aside, like my father, he works at a car dealership or a car auction,
mm,
and he always drilled into me like sales is very important. Like you have to learn how to sell, especially if one day you want to become an entrepreneur and start your business. You have to learn sales.
mm,
And for the longest time, my objective was to sell cars or something like that, just
mm,
because that's what I knew.
mm,
But then the more I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, so you sell a car, the person who walks in, he's already interested, obviously, in buying a car. Is that really sales? Yeah, you're closing the person, but I always figured I was like, okay, if I'm going to do something to
mm,
learn a specific skill, let me do it in the most difficult environment.
mm,
Let me just learn, let me
mm,
actually do it.
mm,
And why door knocking? To be honest, it was just something that appeared in front of me. Like I just got lucky. I was in class. I sat down and I noticed there was like these little pieces of paper in front of everyone's desk.
mm,
And I was like, what is this? So I took it and it was a flyer for a job position as a door knocking intern.
mm,
And I was like, oh, okay. So it's like sell pest control, going door to door, make upwards of 40K in the summer. I was like, whoa, I'm like, what is this? So I do some research. I look online. Some people are kind of sketched out. Some people are saying, don't do it. Others are like, this was the most amazing opportunity. I learned so much.
mm,
And I was like, all right, what's the harm in just going for an interview? So
mm,
I did an interview, got the position. I was like, all right, let me do it for a week or two. Worst case, if it doesn't work out, I'll just get a regular job.
mm,
Like what's the harm?
mm.
And yeah, I did it. My first day, I made 2 sales, which is considered pretty good.
Wow.
And I haven't looked back ever since. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think I was making $200 Canadian per sale.
Mm.
So I went from working at Costco, a $15 per hour job, to now door knocking and making like $400 in a single day. I was like, wow. I'm like, I am never going back to Costco. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the money definitely helped. Like I'm very
Mm,
money driven, not
Mm,
because I'm materialistic and I want to buy a bunch of crap. I just view life as almost like a video game,
mm,
and money is a way to quantify points. That's how I
mm.
kind of, and I want to collect as many points as I can.
Yeah.
So by door knocking, I was making a good amount of money. I was learning how to sell. The team was impeccable. It was incredible. It was horrible. It was probably the most painful time in my life. But for everyone watching, like if you do want to get yourself like get into entrepreneurial, like in the entrepreneurial space,
Mm,
and especially if you're a full-time college student and you're saying to yourself like, oh, I study full-time, I cannot do anything, I cannot learn sales, I cannot start a business. I
mm,
think getting a summer door-to-door knocking job is probably the most beneficial thing you can do. You will learn so much, you will make so much,
mm,
and trust me, by the end of the summer, if you want to start any type of business, it will be a piece of cake.
mm.
And just to finish on this, after my summer of door knocking pest control, I actually started a business before this online business, and it was a window cleaning business. And guess what I did? I did door knocking. So I door knocked, and this time I was selling my own product. So now my margins went up. Instead of selling someone else's product, I was selling my own product. I hired two sales rep. I had a person to clean the windows for me, and quickly I outsourced myself. So I had two guys door knocking full time. I gave them the script, the training, and everything. So they were closing deals. And I had someone who was taking care of doing the fulfillment, which is cleaning the windows.
Wow.
Very quickly, you can use those skill sets and just start your own business, even if it's window cleaning.
Wow. Dude, I love how entrepreneurial you are, man. You have your journey is very, very interesting. And I'm just learning so much more about you as well to hear. It's very intriguing how you have such gut. You have such like bravado. And a lot of people don't have that. I think that's what's missing as well too. It's like I see you take a risk in which a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are worried about. How important would you say risk is in doing such a thing? Because that was definitely risky. I mean, it wasn't, I guess, as risky because you're a kid, doing this, doing that, but it
True.
was still like a risk in which you took
Mm-hmm.
and all, especially at that level. How important would you say that is?
Risk is very important. It was a very big risk at the time because the way my college was set up is that you had to complete one or I think two internships to get your degree.
Mm,
And by not taking my internship, I basically forced myself to take an extra year in college. So
wow.
that already in itself was a risk. I'd say the biggest risk I took, which really changed my life, was dropping out of college.
Mm,
So I was studying engineering, as mentioned.
mm,
It's a 4-year degree here where I live. I
mm,
completed 2 years. I had pretty good grades,
mm,
and I just took a leap of faith and dropped out. I had started my agency while I was in college. It was doing pretty well. I was close to 10K a month,
mm,
but I knew something was holding me back. I'm like, if I didn't have this school in front of me and I just went all in this, I know I can scale this to a pretty good amount.
mm,
And it took me so much time. I think it took me over a year just to build up the guts to drop out. And when I did, I didn't even tell anyone. I didn't tell my girlfriend, didn't tell my friends, didn't tell my parents. I literally just did it. And I was like, all right, I need to prove them wrong. I need to make sure that this works. Otherwise, I am going to get my ass beaten. So, yeah, 100%. I think sometimes,
yeah,
I think everyone's different.
mm,
I think some people will crumble under pressure. I
mm,
think others will dominate under pressure.
mm,
And I think you need to know yourself and place yourself in a situation where you cannot afford to fail. So
mm,
that for me, dropping out was like, okay, there's literally no plan B. Like if this doesn't work out, there's literally nothing that's waiting for me. Like I am completely screwed. But before I dropped out, I was like, oh, if it doesn't work out, I have my degree, I'll become an engineer, I'll make decent money, my life will be okay. So I
yeah,
didn't have that sense of urgency, there was nothing really pushing me. But when
mm,
I dropped out, I had my back against the wall. And when I went
mm,
all in, and took that major risk, that's when things magically started to happen because I could not afford to fail. So yeah,
dude.
100%, bro. Like taking risk is the most important part, but you have to be careful though. I'm not encouraging people to drop out and start a business. I think it's quite stupid to be honest. But putting yourself in a position where you cannot afford to fail, I think that's
Mm.
one of the best things that you can do for yourself.
Man, I love that so much, bro. I really do. And I resonate with that heavily as well, too, because my background also, I guess my story is also a little bit similar as well, too, in terms of stuff that I had to sacrifice my back against the wall where I had no other reason but just to like push forth. And
Hmm.
it's very magical, especially taking that like risk and just like pushing forward no matter what, the things that can come from that. So I love that a lot, bro. Bro, you said something that is very interesting to me. Um, you said that you're money driven, but you're not money driven for like the wrong reasons and stuff like that, right? And one of my favorite quotes in which I got from like my sales class that I attend with my sales trainer Tim Barry, where someone was said, business is an intellectual sport, and finances is proof of the impact that you had on the world with business.
Mm,
It stuck with me. I wrote it down and everything, and it's like my motto just going to 2025, right? I'm wondering, I know when it comes to money, there's always a why. Everybody has a why. It's not just money, make this, make that. I want to like, flashy cash, and you're not that
mhm.
guy either. What is your why, bro? Why are you so money driven? What exactly are you trying to achieve?
That's a good question. Um, I think like growing up, we didn't have much money.
Mm,
My mom is an immigrant,
mm,
so when I came to Canada, I was 5 years old, 6 years old,
mm,
and we, of course, didn't have the best like resources financially.
mm.
And this is a personal story, but I remember when I was younger, here in Canada, we have really bad winters,
Mm,
and this one year, I didn't have any more boots, like winter boots left.
mm,
So mine were broken, they had a hole in them or something, so I needed to get a pair of boots.
mm,
My mother couldn't afford a new pair of boots. So what she had to do is take the neighbor's boots. And that neighbor was a girl that was my age. She was like 10 years old at the time or 9 years old, whatever. And
mm.
I had to wear her boots at school. And they were like pink flash. They had like pink fur around them and everything. And I remember just being so embarrassed. Like,
Oh,
even though no one probably noticed, it's just me. I felt so embarrassed to the fact that,
mm,
my God, I'm wearing pink boots to school.
mm,
And I don't know why. I think that specific time in my life really stuck with me.
mm,
And I always said to myself, okay, growing up, like I'll never be in a position where I'll have to wear pink boots or my kids will have to wear pink boots. So
mm,
I think that has been something that stuck with me for a very long time. And also, money is just freedom, like just being able to do whatever you want to do,
mm,
just like not having to work for someone, being able to take vacations, live a life. You only have one life. I'm not going to spend this life
mm.
working in the office and seeing my boss every day and not doing anything that fulfills me in life. So I want options. I want the options to do whatever I want in life. So I
Dude, wow.
think that's how I view money.
Yeah, no, I love that. That definitely hit deep. I'm not gonna lie. Wow, I can imagine. What does your mom think about all of this in your journey right now? I can
Mm,
imagine, especially coming from that type of like background and everything. Like, what was her initial reaction when she found out that you dropped out and all? And how does she look at things now?
yeah, that was a rough conversation. That was not easy. Like I said, my mom's an immigrant.
Mm,
She had me when she was 18 years old. I
mm,
remember going to college with her as a baby because she was
mm,
still in college studying to become a nurse.
mm,
Um, so I think for her, having an education and having that traditional job is very respected. It's very much the path that's supposed to be taken to live a very, easy life. Like you have money
mm,
coming in, you're not stressing about anything.
mm,
So for her, she always drilled into me like become a doctor, become an engineer, or something like that.
mm,
So I think I was just like really afraid to disappoint her by
mm.
dropping out. So I was like, I really need to prove a point and show her that like, yes, I don't have a degree, but I didn't fuck up. You still did a good job. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think when I was making, I think 30K US to like 45 Canadian or something,
Mm,
I showed my mom my Stripe account, and I was like, look,
mm,
mom, like you probably notice I don't go to school and I'm like very often at home and everything. But there's a reason behind it, and I showed her my Stripe, and she basically still kind of doubted me.
mm,
I think still to this day, like she's my mom, of course. Like she still worries about me and everything. But
mm,
I do my best to help her and show her that like this is real, this is serious and everything. And I think now she's totally understood that like what I'm doing is not, kind of sketchy or
mm,
temporary and everything. And
mm,
I try to work hard to prove everyone around me that like this is actually this is real life. It's a new generation. It's this is not something that our parents are used to. Just being able to make this amount of money just by working from your computer.
mm,
So you have to see it to believe it. So I think if you are like younger and you're
mm,
trying to like show your parents like, hey, I don't need to go to college, I can start my own business and make money.
Mm,
Yes, it's nice to say those things, but if you're a bum and you're in your mom's basement playing video games or watching YouTube all day,
mm,
then yes, I side with your parents. You are a bum and you should go to college. But
mm,
if you're able to go to your parents and show them how much money you're making and show them that you're actually taking this seriously,
mm.
I think the conversation that you'll have with your parents is going to be a lot different.
Dude, man,
But
I love
yeah.
that a lot. No, I love that a lot, to be honest. I wonder, what is your dad also, especially like, you talking about your dad and him, like, being into car sales and everything. And now, his son is making 100K a month, at least, sales,
Mhm.
new sales all the time, which is absolutely impressive, by the way. Right. I wonder, what does he also think about this?
So my dad is my stepdad.
Mm,
So I met him later on when I was a bit older.
mm,
I think I was like 15 or something like that.
mm.
He today is a very successful CEO for a car auction company. So he does very well for
Nice.
himself. But he
Nice.
did the traditional path, which is he
Mm,
got a business degree, stuck with one company his entire life. It's been, I don't know, 30 years he works for the same company,
mm.
went up the ranks, and now he does very well for himself.
Wow.
So I think that has always been like a friendly competition for
Mm,
myself. I was like, okay, it took you 30 years to make that amount of money. Let me do it in 2 years. Um, and I think after all this time, he kind of gets it,
mm,
the grind of doing the same thing over and over for years on end. And when I did tell him how much money I was making, and I showed him, the proof, of course, because you have to
mm,
show proof with what you're
mm,
doing. He told me, like, he gave me the green light, basically. He told me, he's like, keep doing what you're doing. Like he approved. He didn't say much. Like I could
yeah.
tell he was kind of like not too sure what to say, but he looked at me and he was like, "Just keep doing what you're doing."
Mm,
And I think he even him at the amount of money he's making,
mm,
he realizes that he's still trapped. It's like this famous golden handcuffs. It's like
mm,
yes, he's making so much money and he can basically buy whatever he wants, but
mm.
Monday morning he has to be in the office at 9 a.m.
Ugh,
He has to be there on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday.
ugh.
So it's a different lifestyle. But no, I think
Mm,
overall my parents are very proud. And
mm,
again, I think if you're trying to prove to your parents that you're able to do it, just do it
mm.
and then show them the proof. And we have a student in our program, Praveen. I think you know him.
Yeah.
Um, when he joined my mentorship, he was 16 years old,
Mm,
working a normal, he's a high school student working some side job.
mm,
Spent his last money on me for me
mm,
to coach him and everything. He was one of my very first students. I really took it personally, so I'm like, I will help this kid, scale and make
mm,
some money.
mm.
Today, a year and a half later, he's making 25K per month while
Nice.
still being in high school. I
Nice.
personally met his father, so Praveen came to visit me and everything, and I spoke with his father, and
Wow.
I explained to him the whole thing. And even at that time, like him making that much money, his dad told me, he's like, promise me you're not going to make him drop out from high school. And I told him, I'm like, I promise you. So
Yo.
I held my promise. But when it comes to university, I think even his parents are starting to realize that what he's doing is very serious, and they're giving
Mm.
him the green light to not go to university. So
Bro, that is amazing. You're changing lives, and that's the thing I love about you, man. I really do, because you were one of the very few people that like I met, and then you just had like a data sheet of all the people that you pretty much like helping change lives. I was like, oh my gosh, like Oliver is like really like something else. And Praveen, shout out to Praveen as well too. He's a killer. I see him a lot too. You've really like invested a lot into that kid, and he's like killing it,
yeah,
bro.
he's
Bro,
crazy.
yeah, he is. Yo, so I wonder if you were not in business at all, or if you weren't doing growth solutions, what would you be doing right now?
If I wasn't an entrepreneur, if I didn't
Yeah,
start my own business,
yeah,
I think I'd work in sales. I
yeah.
think I would finish my degree and work in engineering. There's like a position where you sell highly complex machinery to
Mm,
like plants and stuff like that. And I think that's something I would do because it's mostly commission based. You get paid
mm,
pretty well, and
mm,
you do need that engineering background to sell it. So I
mm,
still think I would stay with sales because
mm.
honestly, I love sales. I think that's like if I had to compile everything in business, like what I enjoy doing the most is
Yeah.
sales.
Yo, I underestimated how sales driven you are. I really did. I had no idea, and now this is really showing me a lot as well too. So sales, would you say sales is like the lifeblood of like every single business whatsoever?
No, I wouldn't say every business.
Mm,
I think it depends on the type of business. I
mm,
do believe if you have a strong sales background, it will help you basically start anything. Like
mm,
I fully believe I can start any type of business today just because I know how to sell.
mm,
But certain products, let's say if you're doing software, if the software is actually good and it does what you say it does, you don't
mm.
really need to become a good salesperson because typically it makes sense. You don't have to convince me to use Zapier. Like it's Zapier, it works.
Exactly.
So when it comes to software, you need to have a very good product.
Mm,
So the product does the selling for you.
mm,
But when you're selling something like, hey, I'll run your Facebook ads for you, lots of people are doing it.
mm,
So by being good at sales, it will help you accelerate the whole process and get the ball rolling and get your first couple of clients in the door.
mm,
So I think depending on the industry, learning how to sell is more important than the others. But I think as a whole,
mm,
if you're just starting out and you have no idea what to do and you don't have any money, nothing, learn
mm.
how to sell, and the rest will just naturally solve itself. Like all of the business problems that you'll have, most of them can be solved with becoming a good salesperson.
Bro, that is that is actually really really awesome, really smart. It also reminds me of Homozi also saying something similar too. So I like the fact that you're right on that trajectory with what he said as well too. I wonder because every single one of us have come to that point when we're running business, right? Have you ever come to that point where you wanted to throw in the towel when you were doing all of this? Like you just wanted to give up, just fuck it, go back to what you were doing or something else? And if so, how did you push through it?
Mm, yeah. So two times.
Wow.
Once, which was like last, I think 2 years ago,
Mm,
I had an initial offer that I was running. It was going pretty well.
mm,
I had a personal mindset block in believing that this offer was not scalable. I could
mm,
scale it to 20, 30, 40K per month, but 100K, 200K, forget about it. It's unscalable.
mm,
So I seeked some outside help. I got a new offer, which I decided to push, which was very different than what I did previously.
mm,
And I decided to just go all in on it. So
mm,
I pushed through. We rebuilt the entire company. We hired new guys and everything, and we launched this new offer. And we quickly understood I like I didn't believe in it. I didn't like the product. I didn't like the service, and it goes back to what we spoke about at the
mm,
beginning of this podcast, where like I personally didn't believe in what we were doing the product anymore.
mm,
Why? Because I've never really done it myself. I was selling something that someone told me, "Hey, you can make money doing this," but I've
mm,
never actually done it before. So
mm,
for me to sell it to someone, it's like yeah, I can kind of bullshit my way and get people to buy me, but it's just something inside of me didn't sit well.
mm,
And I think, and at the time I was taking the sales calls, and I think at the time it started to affect me a lot,
mm,
and it affected the way I closed because I didn't have that conviction anymore
mm,
because I didn't believe in what we were doing.
mm,
And I think that really affected the sales part of the company. And we quickly started no longer closing deals. So I was like, oh my God, what did I do? So it wasn't so much like wanting to throw in the towel. It's just being in a position where it's like I didn't know what to do. I had one person telling me, hey, you should do this. But then I
mm,
had, me basically saying to myself, like, hey, you should do this instead, and that's gonna work.
mm,
So that was a very stressful moment when I launched a new offer.
mm,
And we did end up just completely eliminating that new offer and going back to what we did. And I
mm,
scaled the unscalable, which
mm.
is the coaching program. If you're wondering,
Wow.
it's the one-on-one coaching. Many
Yeah.
people told me you cannot scale one-on-one coaching. Forget about it. Like now you're making money, but at 100K, 150, 200K per month, you're not going to be able to one-on-one coach everyone. And funny
Mm,
enough, we're still doing one-on-one coaching. So
wow.
I think that says a lot. So I pushed through. Otherwise, this summer, I
Mm,
think that was really bad as well. I
mm.
lost my ad account. It got banned, so I could no
Oh,
longer run ads. And our payment processor, Stripe, shut down on us. So I
my
was no
God.
longer able to collect payments, and our main acquisition method, which was ads,
Was
was no
gone.
longer a viable option. I couldn't use it.
Wow.
So for 3 months, I basically didn't make a profit. I had to pay my team out of my own pocket because we would use certain processors, like new ones. They would hold the money, so
Mm,
we still got paid, but I didn't actually receive the money yet. But of course, I'm still going to pay my closers. I cannot not pay them.
mm,
So for 3 months, I was basically paying everyone out of pocket.
wow.
And we have again, lots of expenses, so it's
Yeah.
not cheap to run a business like this. But
Yeah.
so that was extremely stressful. And it was very easy. It would have been very easy for me to just say, fuck this, we're stopping everything. We're not going
Mm.
to close deals and just, I'll do something different. But you cannot give up, like I don't have that mindset where you can give up. It's not an option for me. Like, because if I give up, like, what else is there for me to do? Like,
Mm.
why throw in the towel? Like, what am I going to go cut grass, buy a lawnmower and start door knocking, cutting grass? Like, I'm not going to do that. So like, I don't, like, you asked me, like, have I ever wanted to throw in the towel? I don't think so, because like, it's not an option for me. But yes, there were times where it was absolutely horrible mentally for me to run the business.
Wow.
But never would I give up on this,
Dude.
unless someone physically restricts the Wi-Fi from me, takes my computer, and I can no longer, have a house above my head to run a company. Like, I don't think anything can prevent me from running my business.
Wow, dude, that is a tough one. I'm not gonna lie, because it's very interesting you say that too, because I'm currently in the process of actually moving away from Stripe, because they also like just held like my company money just recently. Luckily, I was able to quickly like fix it and they released it.
Okay,
But
that's good.
before then, I saw it coming, and I've been moving over to this new payment method called Numeric. Um,
Okay.
amazing payment gateway, by the way. And now, I'm trying to like get away from that. But I'm wondering, like, how did you, because that is some tough shit for you to go through, especially ad account banned, main
Mm-hmm.
acquisition, like, funnel just gone, and Stripe. It's a different type of mindset that you need to have in order to bolster through that for
Yeah.
90 days.
Yeah.
How did you do that, bro? Because it's not something easy to go through daily for 90 days. That's a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
So I say to myself, the more challenging things I'm able to overcome and go through,
Mm,
the harder it's going to be for my competition to do the same thing. So if
mm,
I'm able to do it, to get through 90 days of not being able to collect a single dollar, but still pay everything,
mm,
how is the next guy going to be able to do it? And that just kind of like separates me. And I think, again, me mentally, I will never give up. I'll always find a solution and everything. I think the hardest thing, I think it's easy when you're by yourself to
mm,
go through like a difficult period. Like, mentally, if you're able to go through it, then like you'll be fine.
mm,
But what's harder is when you have a 8-man team behind you and they cannot see that you're stressing. The amount of times that I've taken team calls where deep down I am stressing. I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what I'm going to do to fix the ad account. All of my payment processors are holding my money. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to get paid, but I will never show them that. We'll hop on the call and I'm like, guys, like, don't worry, everything's under control. Like, I'll fix it. Like, I just spoke to Facebook. Like, things are good. Like, we're going to be okay. And then I go to sleep and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Like, I'm
oh
completely
shit.
fucked. I'm like, I might have to open a new credit card, to pay everyone. Like, it's like, but you cannot let your team see
See
that.
that. Mm,
So I think that's very important.
mm,
Otherwise, for yourself, I think I was a lot more stressed at the beginning and panicky
mm,
because you're very new to this. It's like going to the gym. At the
mm.
beginning, you do one rep of one exercise, and the next day you're completely sore and you're completely dead. But
Right.
after a few years of working out, you build up this tolerance of,
Mm-hmm,
all right, I'm able to work out for a whole hour and the next day be semi okay, not be that sore,
mm-hmm,
because you've built that muscle of being able to
mm-hmm,
handle stress and go through problems.
mm,
And I always say this to my team. I'm like, the future version of myself is going to be smarter than me today. So whenever there's like complex problems, which I know will eventually come,
mm,
I'm like, I don't stress because future Oliver will take care of it. And the future version of myself is always going to be smarter. They've always been through more stuff. They have more experience. They're
mm,
older. They're wiser. So they will
mm.
handle whatever has to come. So that's how I like to view sort of myself.
I like that, though. I like that. Yo, that
It's
is
good,
amazing.
right?
It
The
really
future
is, bro.
version of myself will take care of it. So you put the
Yeah.
blame on that guy. He'll do it. Don't worry.
Yo, I'm actually gonna start like using that a lot. I'm gonna write that down because that's actually impeccable. Goodness me. Oliver, do you remember what it felt like when you hit your first 10K month?
Mhm. So I do.
Mm.
It did not mean anything to me. I
Wow.
did not. I did not. Because for me, 10K was nothing. I was like, everyone's
Mm,
making 10K. I want to make 100K. I want to make 500K. So I
mm,
think I've been very ambitious. And the way I set my goals I almost set myself unattainable goals because
Mm,
it forces me to work so much harder. So,
mm,
for example, I just made a YouTube video about this, but at my door knocking company, once you hit 100 sales for the season, for the summer, you would basically get like a all-inclusive trip. So they would organize a trip, fly you out, and you would basically be part of that.
wow.
Sorry. So for many people, 100 sales was the ultimate objective. Once I hit 100 sales, I'll make this much money. I'll get that free trip.
Mm,
Boom, my job is done.
mm,
And what happened is that when I noticed is that as soon as people would hit 100 sales, they would stop. They would just slow down. They went from making 3-4 sales per day to now barely one sale per day.
mm,
So what I found most of the time is when people set themselves a specific goal and they reach it, they stop because job's done.
mm,
But what I like to do is set myself a goal that's overly ambitious. So I wanted to make 100K my first month. Deep
mm,
down, I kind of knew I wouldn't be able to make it, but I still ended up at like 25, 30K in my first year, which I was pretty happy with.
mm,
So that's how I like to set myself goals. I'd say the most, like when I felt the richest, is when I started to make online money. When I closed my first deal and I got paid. I
mm,
remember it was like $100. It was my first. It was a plumbing client that I was doing on a pay per job basis,
mm.
and I got him a job through Google Ads. He paid me like $100 something, and I was like, wow. It's like I can go buy a protein bag, and it's basically free. Like I basically got paid online for it. Um, so I think that I was very happy.
Mm,
I think another moment in my life, which is kind of unrelated to the whole online business space, but when I was 15, 16,
mm,
I worked my very first job, which was I was just like cleaning and stuff like that at a motorcycle dealership.
mm,
I made a few grand during the summer, and I was like,
mm,
okay, this is kind of unmotivating. I made
mm,
like 3K working the whole summer.
mm.
And what I ended up doing is I took all my money and I went all in crypto, which looking back is very stupid. But I ended up making a pretty good amount of money. And
Wow,
that money, I used it to buy my first car. And it was a brand new Honda Civic at the time. So I was pretty happy with that.
dude.
And I think that really shifted my perspective. I was like, wow. I was like, this is crazy. I worked for a full summer and I made like 3-4 grand.
Mm.
And I just made one good decision. At the time, I was like, it was a very smart decision. It was calculated. I knew exactly what I was doing. And I made, whatever, like 5 times, 10 times more than I did the whole summer.
Wow.
So I think that really opened my eyes to what's possible online if you know what you're doing.
Yo, that is actually it. Bro, you got the best stories, bro. I'm not gonna lie. You've got like the best stories as the things that have happened to you. And as a result, like like what you got from it, either like for better or for worse. And it's I can see that that's really helped also shape you to becoming like who you are. And
Mhm.
it makes me curious. So when you hit those, because it's like I know it's like until you hit that like first 100K, or like the time when you until you got to the point where the time when you felt rich and all of that. I wonder, did you do anything different? Like, let's say when you hit that 10K, when you hit that 25K, 30K, when you hit that 50K and all of that, did you do anything different from what you were doing before?
Um, so, like you're talking business wise, like the way I
Yeah,
operated the company.
yeah.
Like I said, I think I shifted from solely relying on my emotions, my instincts, my guts,
Mm,
to now taking more calculated decisions
mm,
depending on what I'm trying to achieve. So,
mm,
to give you another example, we recently raised our prices. And
mm,
for whatever reason, I'm very attached to our old price. It's like
mm,
it's been proven to work. People buy it. People don't complain. I have a good closing rate. I know it works.
mm,
And in my head is if I up the price of our product, no one's gonna buy anymore. It's gonna be so much harder to sell. I'm not gonna make
mm,
any more money. Everything's gonna go upside down. I'll be poor. I'll be homeless. The worst things will happen. And for the longest time, because of that, I didn't raise prices.
mm,
And then eventually I got a bit fed up of it and I knew that was like a major constraint in our company.
mm,
So I was like, let me actually calculate my closing rate
mm,
with the new price. So I 2x our price. I took my old data. So I'm like, okay, so the amount of money I make per call is this, and
mm,
this is my current closing rate. Let me take 10 calls and pitch the new price. And let's see what happens.
mm.
My closing rate went from, it was like 48% to 46% with the new price.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I feel stupid. I was like, I feel very stupid right now. That's what I said to myself, and I was like, really, just because I was thinking about my emotions, that's what happened.
Mm,
So I think things like that, I've
mm,
slowly started to implement,
mm,
um, which helped me a lot.
mm.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's how
dude, I
I
love that. I love that a lot, and it resonates with me a lot too because my business partner and I were because normally, especially in the game of business and marketing as well too, it's like you can really get thrown off by how you feel or emotions and stuff a
Mhm.
lot. But the
True.
moment that you actually put numbers to it, you get a whole sense of clarity.
Hmm.
And that is really key. And I love that, like you said
True.
that here too, because it's like just looking at that is like game changing, is from what
Yeah,
I'm seeing.
it's very true. I
Mm,
think one other thing, which I wasn't too sure if I wanted to mention, which has like I'm very surprised by this, but it has affected me a lot by the way I operate my business and just act as a general, as a entrepreneur, as a person.
mm,
I was making at the time, I think 40, 50K
mm,
USD cash collected per month.
mm,
I was still driving that same Honda Civic. It had the cracked windshield, the brakes were squeaky. It was not in the best of shapes.
mm,
And at the time, I met Serge Guattari.
mm,
For those that know him, he lives in Montreal. He's relatively close to me, and
mm,
we were celebrating New Year's Eve together. And or no, it wasn't New Year's Eve. It was right before my birthday, like during the summer or something.
mm,
He invited me over. He was doing this mini party,
mm,
and we were talking together. And he asked me, he's like, "So, how does it feel to run a business that makes 50K a month?"
mm,
I looked at him and I'm like, well, not like I don't know, hasn't really changed my life. Like from making 10K to 50K a month, like my life is still the same. Like nothing has really drastically changed.
mm,
And he looked at me, he's like, well, have you changed your lifestyle? Like have you used that money to improve your life or do things differently?
mm,
And I was like, not really. Well, he's like, well, that's your problem. He's like, you make 50K a month, but you don't live a 50K per month lifestyle.
mm,
And he's like, that will, have huge effects on the type of person that you are and how you hold yourself and everything.
mm.
So I was like, okay. So we spoke. And long story short, he ended up calling me a pussy because I didn't want to get the new car and everything. So I said to him, I was like, look, in November, if I hit my goal and I
Mm,
make X amount of money, I will buy a new car. And
mm,
I ended up buying a car and it was an AMG. And it's true. I think ever since I've had the new car and gotten like a nicer apartment in a city and everything,
mm,
it has mentally sort of change my perspective on life and show
mm,
me that the money, because it's very easy to make money online, but
mm,
if you don't use it, like it doesn't change anything in your life.
mm,
But to actually have like an attachment where it's like, okay, if I make more money, I actually get better things in life, and it
mm.
you know it makes my life better. I drive faster and all these things. I have more enjoyment in life. So I think also using some of the money
Mm,
is very like, it will help you with your mindset and put you in a
mm.
position where it's like, okay, I'm not doing this for nothing. Like there's actually a reward, there's an end goal to this.
Bro, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely agree. I can definitely see that because I mean, at the end of the day, what's the point of the whole business, right? As you said,
Exactly.
you're trying to be free, right, and provide for yourself and other people around you. So, I definitely love that. I'm curious, Oliver, if today you had $0
Hmm.
and you had to start all over again, what would you do?
I've been working out, so maybe OnlyFans, like maybe just
Oh
shake
shit!
shake my booty a bit, make some money. I don't know. They make pretty good money.
Hey, true that though. True that.
Uh,
Oh
so
shit.
if I had $0,
Mm,
I'd work in sales. I'd get
mm,
a sales position, a remote sales position. Which, by the way, if you're watching this, we're hiring a bunch of closers.
mm,
Um, I get a sales position, learn from people who know better than I do,
mm,
how they run a company and everything. So ideally, I close for a smaller company, so
mm,
not a no, not those big firms that you find on LinkedIn. To
mm,
apply and everything, but just like the small like business making 100K, 200K, 300K per month.
mm,
Just because you're so much closer to the founder and you actually get to see how they operate the business. And I do believe you learn so much. And
mm,
a few of my closers, Praveen being one of them, he used to close for me. And I think he
mm,
learned a lot from being with us. And then he
mm,
eventually started his own company. So I'd get a sales position. Afterwards, once I had enough money, I would start an agency, probably
mm,
working with local businesses, like a blue
mm,
collar niche. And I would put all my money into ad spend. So I'd run ads, direct marketing, get a bunch of sales calls. I'd split my time. half of the time I would close for that other person, the other time I would close for my own agency.
Mm.
And once I get a few clients, then from there I'd go full on into the agency space and start right back to where I was like 2 years ago with
Yeah.
the agency.
Dude, you just give like the roadmap to all these other guys over here as to how they can actually get this thing going. So I actually love that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that you also give that sauce too, bro. It's the thing I love about you. One of the things I love about you, in which a lot of businesses do not have, is something I pride myself on also having, but you have it to that level in which like I really adore and admire team building.
Mm.
Like I wonder, how do you hire the right people?
It's very difficult.
Hmm.
I think that's the skill I've had to develop the most.
Hmm.
And if I had to make a list of like what's the most important skills,
Hmm.
yes, sales is up there, but I
Hmm.
do think management and being able to find good talent is also very much up there.
Hmm.
Um, I I don't want to say I got lucky because obviously I worked for my YouTube, I worked for my business and everything, and I don't think anyone would want to work with me if I was just a bum not doing what I was supposed to do.
Hmm.
But as I was just building my business, most of my key hires just naturally came to me.
Hmm.
So just to give you an example, my head of appointment setting, I didn't even know you could. Like back in the day, I didn't even know cold DMs was a thing. Like I would just cold call. Like I didn't know cold DMs was a thing. So
Hmm.
when I started my coaching business, I would solely rely on YouTube. And then I met this person. I pitched him the price to my mentorship program. He's like, I
Hmm.
don't have the money, but he's like, let me cold DM for you and get you like 10 clients. And he's like, once you get you 10 clients, then let me in for the mentorship for free. I was like, okay. I was like, what do I have to lose? And he did that in a week. And I used to book, I think it was like 20 calls a month through my
Hmm.
YouTube. And he in a week got me like, I think 15 or 20 appointments. I was like, this is crazy. So I hired him on the spot. So I gave him access to the mentorship. But I was like, hey, bro, I want you to work for me. Let's make this happen. And
Wow.
that was like 2.5 years ago. And he's
Hmm.
still with me today.
Wow.
So he's an example of someone, a talent who has a higher skill set than I do when it comes to appointment setting. I only knew organic. He
Hmm.
knew cold traffic, how to convert cold traffic. So
Hmm.
again, I learned the basics from him, but he's still the goat at it. It's not me. Some of my hires are ex-students of mine.
Hmm.
So people that I've seen, succeed very well. I've just enjoyed working with. I see they're serious and everything. So
Hmm.
I offer them a position to work with me, or they offer themselves to work with me because they see we're growing. And I do think there's lots of benefit in, being part of a smaller company and helping them rise to a decent level.
Hmm.
But I would say the key piece, the most important thing, if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have been able to get the talent that I have today, is my YouTube, is having a following, having a personal brand.
Hmm.
No
Wow.
one wants to work for a nobody. They want to work for the next Iman Gadzi, the
Hmm.
next Alex Hormozy.
Hmm.
I don't think Alex Hormozy has any issues finding the best talent. He will make one IG story and he will get as many applicants as he needs for
True.
whatever position that he's looking for.
True.
So I think
True.
having a personal brand is the ultimate cheat code to really anything. Is
Hmm.
having organic leads that you don't have to pay ad costs for,
Hmm.
building proof. So when you do meet a stranger and you're trying to pitch them on the service, they can actually do some research on you and go on your YouTube, your followings, and just look into you a bit.
Hmm.
And also, more importantly, hire the best talent because they will come from your YouTube, your organic, and everything.
Dude, man, you have like I'm also like learning so much from this as well too, and I'm also like taking notes. I'm very glad I'm doing lots of like heavy content stuff this year coming, because it's interesting because you have that level that I'm trying to get to, and also further when it comes to the team building. And I mean, I've been through a lot of people that came in and went out. Some willingly, it was mutually. Others, I had to let them go. Others, they
Mm-hmm.
they just left. So it's been like a tough thing to just like bring on the right people. But you have
Yeah,
said that one thing there right now, which I always remember. Nobody wants to work for nobody.
exactly.
That is really key.
It's very true.
Interesting.
I think it's
Interesting.
also about setting a standard in your company. I think
Mm.
I'm very military style in the company.
Mm.
I'm very like, You work as many hours as you want. You do what you think is best. I'm not micromanaging anyone. I
Mm,
even hate calling them employees. Like I
mm,
cringe inside of me when I say my employees. I say my team members, the guys on my team. Like I don't even want to use that word because they're not employees.
mm,
Um, but I give them lots of, like, I don't micromanage, which I see lots of people. They hire a new guy. Here's your 10-page SOP. This is how you do things. You text me by 8 a.m. when you start your shift. You do this and everything. I personally am not like that. But if you show me that you're not able to do things on your own and I have to micromanage you,
mm,
you're out. Like I have
mm,
no tolerance for bullshit, no tolerance whatsoever. So I think that's another very important key piece when it comes to building teams.
mm,
Hire fast, but also fire fast.
mm.
Like
Yeah.
don't drag someone because they may have potential. It's like fuck that. No, it's like if you get into a relationship with a
Mm.
girl that's crazy, are you gonna sit through 2 years hoping that one day she's gonna be better? It's like no, fuck that. I'll find someone else that's already like at the level that like I'm looking for,
Yeah.
and that's how I view
Well,
life. And especially when it comes to building teams.
I like that. I like that a lot. You're right. You're definitely right, bro. It's very interesting to me. I'm wondering. I know for me personally, just being a human being, also coming into the realm of business, every single is like it feels like every single day, every single month, you always learn something new in order for you to like get to that next level. What would you say was the biggest belief that you used to have that you had to let go of in order for you to skyrocket even more in terms of growth mindsets, in terms of just like financial as well too, team, all of that? What would you say? I'm sure you have many, but what would you say is that key one that you had to let go of, in which you
Mm.
felt the growth just happen immensely?
I think it's like I'm not good enough. These people are better than me, and I
Mm,
can never do what they do because they have something that I don't have.
mm,
And no matter how hard I work, they're always going to be a step ahead. I think that's one thing I had to learn to let go because I'm very much someone who puts people on pedestals, more specifically like entrepreneurs.
mm,
Like I look at Hormozy and I'm like, I'll never be able to be as big as Hormozy. He's crazy.
mm.
And funny enough, I used to say that about lots of people that now are, like I've achieved a bit more than them, respectfully. And I think the when I really realized that was
Mm,
when I was working on my coaching business.
mm,
It was scaling pretty quickly. Things were
mm,
going well, and I spoke to a prospect, and he casually mentioned, he's like, "Yeah, I was talking with this other company, and I was thinking of working with them, but now that I'm talking with you, I'd rather work with you." And he paid
mm,
me. And at the end of the call, I was like, out of curiosity, like who was that other person?
mm,
And I'm not going to mention it here on the call because I don't want
mm,
to put them on blast, but
mm.
he mentioned the person that I was kind of comparing myself to at the time, which I believe was, at the higher stage than I was.
Wow.
And I was like, that's crazy. And he sent me the screenshot and I saw the guy's name. They were texting on WhatsApp. He was trying to close him. And I kind of took that deal from him. And I
Wow.
was like, that is crazy. I used to look up to this person, thinking that this person will always achieve
What's
more
that?
than I can.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I'm stealing his clients. Like they would rather work with me.
Wow.
And ever since then, I've heard it a few times. I'm like, wow,
Mm,
that's crazy. So I think that is something that I personally wasn't able to let go
mm.
until I saw black and white proof and I spoke with someone that was able to confirm it for me.
Wow, dude, that is huge. That is huge. Would you and it's a thing where it's like all of us have this like limited belief of
Hmm.
ourselves every single time and all. Would you say that it's really important for you to not have that limited belief? And if so, how would you like even go about making that happen? Because like the one of the hardest things in this world is the mental game. And
Hmm.
and business is a huge mental game,
True.
right? Where you're just like having a constant limiting belief about yourself, about your services, results, all of that. I even personally have been going through it. It's just recently that I realized that I'm actually really good at what the fuck it is that I do.
Hmm.
When I look at the numbers and everything, I'm actually really good at it. But before that, I'm like, oh no, maybe I'm bad. Maybe I don't do this, and maybe that's why I was also was not putting content out there. So I'm
Hmm.
wondering, like, what is your take on that in terms of like the limited belief?
Um, so I don't think you lose to a competitor. You don't lose to a boss. You don't lose to whatever. You lose to yourself. I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned is that if you mentally cannot fight that battle, like you're not going to get anywhere.
Mm,
Um, I still to this day have that mindset where it's like I stress out when I see other people who are further along me, like when I see what they're doing, and I'm like, I'm not doing those things. Like there's
mm,
so much. They have things more organized. They have better acquisition methods. Their sales team is bigger and everything, and it stresses me out.
mm,
And I think the only thing that has helped me overcome that is ignoring everything, not being on social media, not
mm,
watching their YouTube videos,
mm,
not listening to what they say, and just do what I think is best. And to
mm,
just follow my own path without constantly looking up. Because when
mm,
you look up, the grass is always greener. Someone's always making more money than you are. And
mm,
especially in the game of business, there's always someone who's better than you are. Like
mm,
you cannot be number one. Even the number one, the richest person, like they're the richest person for a couple of years, and then they get someone else comes in and like takes their position. So um, I think many people fall into this trap of just comparing themselves to everyone.
mm,
And it's true. It's very overwhelming when you see someone making 100K per month when you're
mm,
barely able to make your first $100 per month.
mm,
It's hard to comprehend. Like even me at the time, I was like 100K. That's insane. I was like, if I make
mm,
that in a year, I'll be happy. But like, just don't compare yourself to other people and just do your thing. Don't look up. You don't have time to watch YouTube videos anyway, so don't be on that. And don't follow these people. Like the
mm,
only people I follow on social media are people that I want to have their same style of content. So I follow
mm,
them just to see what type of content that they're putting out, not because I actually want to follow them and everything.
mm,
Because otherwise, it just plays into my head too much, and
mm,
it's just something I've noticed of me, and I'm like, okay, let me just not play into it. Let me
mm,
not purposely put myself in a situation where I start
mm.
doubting myself.
I love that a lot. I love that a lot. I am my own competition. And then
Exactly.
that way you just keep leveling up. Jeez. Dude, you're dropping bombs, bro. You're dropping bombs. And now I really want you to like also help drop some bombs for some other people there as well too, right? Because I can imagine a lot of people that will be watching this. They'll be all over the place, but some people will probably be looking at starting out. Some people
Hmm.
have already started out and they're trying to like, maybe hit their first 10K per month and all of that. Let's imagine like someone is watching right now and is stuck at 5K per month. What is the one move you will tell them to make today to get them to that 10K per month?
Um, Run ads. Just do ads. I personally waited way too long
Wow.
to start running ads,
Mm,
and don't be. I think 5K a month is a dangerous spot
mm,
because you've probably not previously in the past come to money. Like this is the first online money that you've been making. So
mm,
this money is very exciting. It's
mm,
very hard to resist the temptation of let me buy this, let me start spending here, left and right. I don't want to pay this person because I want to save my margins and keep as much money as I can. I think
mm,
that's a mistake I see many people doing, like sub 10K a month.
mm,
So reinvest everything, and more specifically, reinvest into things that will make you money. Making a new website will
mm,
not make you more money. It's going to look nicer and everything, but directly, it's not really going to make you more money.
mm,
So reinvest everything into the company, more specifically advertisement.
mm.
I think
Dude,
if had I done that way sooner, I would have been way bigger than I am today.
wow. Interesting. It's interesting you say that as well too. Because I know it's like ads is always like one way. Like one of the like ways in which many people always talk about for you to grow faster and
Hmm.
everything. And I love how you mentioned that the one mistake that you made wasn't like getting into it fast enough, which makes me wonder in terms of like money mistake as well too. Because like when you're that small,
Hmm.
that every single dollar counts even more, right? So it makes me wonder, like, what money mistake did you make early on that you wish you could erase, either good or bad, so that you would have hit your goals even faster?
It's gonna sound like I have a different approach to it. I wish I would have spent more money.
Wow.
I'm very like risk averse. So
Mm,
every penny that I made, I was the opposite. I would hoard everything into a bank account and I would not touch it. And I just built up this huge pile of money. and I
Mm.
would not touch it whatsoever. And I didn't want to spend money for anything. I was making 30K per month and I was still living in my mom's basement. I was still driving that car.
Mm.
And the day I decided to sign a lease for 1.5K per month, which I was
Mm.
stressing, by the way, is like that blew my business out because now I had my own office, my own place to work and everything.
Wow.
So for me personally, it's spending the money. I think that's a big mistake that I made
Wow.
when it comes to my money. And I would
Mm.
say also not being aggressive enough with my
Mm.
money. I'm too, I still am today, which I'm trying to work on. I'm
Mm.
too passive with the way I scale. I realize I need more closers, but it's like, whatever. We'll get a few closers here and there. We'll slowly build a team. There's no rush to it.
Mm.
But now recently I launched a new ad campaign specifically to get closers. And I'm trying to
Wow.
get 8 interviews per day instead of 8 sales calls per day on my calendar and just be super aggressive with everything.
Wow.
So yeah, don't spend your money on dumb shit. I know you want a fast car. I know you want Rolexes and shit like that, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to help you. And just spend your money on things that will make you more money. And
Mm.
then once you have so much money that you don't know what to do with it, then you can start spending it on dumb shit and realize that it's dumb shit. Don't try to justify it and say like, oh, well, if I get the AMG, then I can post it on Instagram, then I can get more sales. And no, like just it's a dumb purchase. Let's be honest.
It is. It is.
Um, and yeah, I think that's it. I think I was going
Yeah.
to say something else, but I forgot.
Okay, no worries, bro. It's I love that you say that, and it's like I've realized that lately as well too. People were like posting all these stuff. I don't know, at least for me, and for the type of people that like I like to work with, I've realized that like the people that post all these Rolexes, all these like cars and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
they rather like push away the authentic people, and they rather just go towards the mass amounts of people that want that lifestyle, but
Yeah,
I guess don't really understand exactly what it is to get there. And
yeah,
from what we've come to learn, most of the time, people are just fronting and all, and
yeah.
they don't actually own those things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting you say that. I wonder, bro, aside sales and running ads with the marketing, could you give me 2 hacks, or could you give the audience just 2 hacks that you can swear by for scaling revenue fast?
Do more of what's working. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I think that's a big one. Is many people try to be fancy with it and
Mm.
start a new business, start a new product,
Mm.
find a new way to acquire clients and stuff like that.
Mm.
But when most of the time is just stick with what's working and go all in.
Mm.
So I think that's hack number one. Is don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just you found something that works for you, just do it. Just do 10 times more of it until it
Mm.
breaks, basically. Hack number two
Mm.
is don't be afraid to spend your money business wise. I recently paid a coach 1K for a 1 hour long call,
Mm.
and that money paid itself within a few hours.
Wow. Wow.
He's the one that helped me with increasing the price. He's basically the one who told me stop being a bitch and just start tracking your stuff instead of like being scared about raising your prices, and you'll see
Mm.
you'll close the deal. And that same day I
Wow.
had a few sales calls and I closed it for 2x price. So I made my money back right away.
Wow.
So yeah, don't be afraid to spend your money on like coaches, mentors, learn from other people. I think that's
Mm.
a very underrated way to just accelerate the growth. I
Yeah.
think the
Wow.
networks, the people I've met through just a single mentorship program,
Mm.
I bought it just because the person that was searched, he was located in Montreal. The
Mm.
main reason why I bought it, not because of the actual program, was because I knew I would be in contact with him. And
Mm.
today I've made a podcast with him. I've met him in person. I've celebrated New Year's Eve with him.
Wow.
I've met all of his friends as well who are in the same space. And the
Wow.
connections that I made, kind of like how we were speaking earlier before we started the call,
Mm.
rubbing shoulders with the right people can be extremely beneficial to you. So
Yeah.
whether it be online or in person, do take the time to expand your network and meet some people. And if it
Mm.
takes money to do it, then fuck it, do it.
Do it. Yo, I love that. I love that a lot, heavy, because I'm also really big on always investing in yourself and
Mhm.
spending money in those type of places so you can always level up. So I love that you say that. That's like
Exactly.
such a huge
It's
hack.
like reinvesting in. It's like you asked me earlier if I had $0 and I was starting from zero.
Yeah.
If I'm at $0, the one thing I still have is my knowledge, my skill sets, and everything. So
Mm.
that's one thing that no one can take from me. My sales skills, no matter how much Stripe bans me or my ad account bans me, at the end of the day, I can sell. I'm not stressing. I'm sleeping well at night because you take away everything from me. I'll go door knock my neighbor right now and sell him a fucking whatever I have on my desk. I'll sell it for him and make the money back.
Yo,
So
oh my
it's
gosh. I love that, bro. I love that. Yo, okay. I want this segment for raw and real quick as well too. This entire thing has been raw. This entire thing has been real. I love that we've also gotten personal to also really know about you as well and just give value bombs to these guys. Hot takes on things. What is a popular business guru tip that you think is total BS?
follow your passion.
Oh, that is a hot take, and I
Yeah.
agree. So I'm curious why you say that. Holy shit.
Because following your passion means you do something that you enjoy.
Mm,
And although at the beginning, maybe your passion is baking muffins, you'll
mm,
quickly realize that once you start making money, your business is no longer baking muffins. It's finding bakers, finding the best location, running ads for promos for the best muffins or whatever you're selling. And
mm,
you quickly distance yourself from your passion. And if you're only working on things that you actually enjoy working on, you're not going to stick with it in the long haul.
mm,
So I think that's a mistake. And also, like, I think there's just some opportunities out there that are unsexy but
mm,
make money. So I always tell people, I'm like, look, just do something that you can make money, like
mm,
selling ads or growth services to people. It
mm.
works. Like, who's gonna say no to more clients for their business? It might not be fun, but trust me, bro, you will make money.
Yeah.
And then once you make the money, if you want to start your own, I don't know, like Gatorade brand and like your sports drink or whatever and slap your face on it and that's your passion business, then go ahead. You have enough money to basically spend on it. So
Mm.
yeah.
Dude, I love that so much as well too, because so in my not so distant past life, I was a semi pro choreographer. And I was
Okay.
really fucking good at it. Like you see this big 6'2" guy, you would never think he could dance, but I could bust moves like crazy and choreographing and stuff like that. I went really far. I was like rubbing shoulders. Like my dance mentor was shout out to Yesi Gomez, my dance mentor. She was on So You Think You Can Dance. One of, I think season 4 or something like that as well too. At that time, she like helped me get into like different spaces. I was like performing on the same stage as like Justin Timberlake's like choreographer and stuff like that.
Mm,
It was like it was like pretty like awesome stuff. But I quickly came to realize that my passion in that portion, when I started like teaching classes and having to like stick to these specific things, it quickly stopped becoming fun.
exactly.
It quickly started feeling like a draining job in which I was just like, so I stepped away from it and all, and I don't think I want to go back to it, but not in that capacity. So I love that you said that, like that whole follow your passion stuff. I also
Hmm.
think it's BS as well too. You want to be careful in that part,
Exactly.
bro. I love that. Okay, so I wonder, second one here, is hustle culture overrated or necessary?
Mm, I think what's overrated is the whole cold plunges, meditating,
Mm,
journaling. I don't know if that's considered the hustle.
mm,
In that, I don't know how you would define it.
mm,
But when it comes to that part of the space, when people say like you need to start in monk mode and all of this crap, I think
mm,
it's bullshit. I think it's just distractions.
mm,
There are things that are easy to do
mm,
relatively and they make you feel productive, but at the end of the day, like it doesn't move the needle forward. One thing I used to do is read books because everyone would tell me you need to read books to be successful.
mm,
And I read almost a book a week for a whole year,
mm.
business books. And guess what? I was not any richer because I wasn't taking action. I was just reading books because that's what people were telling me to do.
Okay.
So I think when it comes to those things, like the self improvement
Mm.
space, I think that's highly overrated.
Okay, that is interesting. So it's more like if you wanted to at least do those, you do those and then you take action with it, but you just doing it does not really move the needle, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
At the
mm,
end of the day, there has to be like most people know what they have to do to make
mm,
money.
mm,
And most people, if they're just starting out, it's picking up the phone and cold calling and talking to 100 businesses per day. Or
mm,
it's going out in person and knocking to businesses and say like, hey, do you need help with your advertisement? Do you need me to do your social media?
mm.
That's how I started my first agency. Is I went door to door in person because again,
Wow.
all I knew was door to door. But I quickly realized that it was a bit harder to scale, So I picked up the phone instead. But
Oh my
it's like
god.
people do those things to avoid the hard work.
Mm,
That's what I noticed. And I
mm,
also I always tell people as well that like it may be hard at the beginning, but just know that it gets easier afterwards. I don't know for you, Kofi, if you feel the same way, but
mm.
I feel 0 to 5K, 0 to 10K was way harder than 10 to 100K.
Yes.
Way harder. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no money, no self confidence because I'm like, why should I be confident in myself? I haven't done shit, Like I don't deserve to be confident.
Yeah.
No resources, no people to help me. I was just by myself in the basement, trying to make it happen. And I
Yeah.
think if you're able to get past through that period,
Mm,
then afterwards life becomes so much better.
You are right. I agree with you heavily, bro. Because it's like those are the times when you're just pretty much fucking around and finding out, trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
things out, and put the processes in place so that you can just stream from there. So it's
Exactly.
it's it's very yeah. I resonate with that heavily, bro. I'm curious because we all have that one crazy thing we all did, right? What is the craziest thing you've done to land a client?
Mm, over exaggerate the proof, the my capabilities as a entrepreneur trying to help like business owners. So,
Mm,
like I said, my first client was a plumbing client. I run
mm,
Google ads for them.
mm,
I didn't run the ads myself. I had a media buyer with me,
mm.
and it was some guy from some country, in India or something like that.
Okay.
And he asked me, he's like, "Are you the one running the ads? Do you have a team here in the local area? Do you have an office?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. We're very professional. We do things and stuff." So I think at the beginning, that's probably something I did that looking back, I don't think I had to do it. I think I could
Mm,
have I think I could have done things differently.
mm.
But yeah, I'd say that's the craziest thing. I haven't. I've always been ethical. I think
Yeah.
being ethical is very important. I think it's very
Yeah.
easy to. You can easily scam people online. Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing that's gonna protect you really. So it's
Yeah.
more of like a moral thing to yourself. And I just think it's wrong. How can you sleep with yourself if you do some fucked up shit? So
Yeah.
I've always tried to avoid that space and not be just be authentic and be true to myself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, bro. Yeah, that definitely resonates with me. The amount of times that we've exaggerated in the beginning times and everything to like try and line like clients, and the like once you do that as well too, especially if you're an ethical person, which a lot of people are not,
Hmm.
you just can't sit right. But then the one thing I did realize too though is once you're that ethical person and you did that, you damn as well sure just go above and beyond to make sure you
True.
really deliver for them. So which
That is
was like,
so true. Yeah.
yeah, good thing on that part. Bro, dude, okay. So right now, bro, you are doing some amazing stuff. You're hitting that 100K per month and everything. I wonder, and I'm curious, and I know everybody else is too. What is your next goal?
300K a month. That's what I want
Mm,
to hit.
mm,
It's why 300. It's 10K a day, and it just sounds sexy. I make 10K every single day. So that is the goal.
mm,
Um, I also want to build my backend money as well. I want to build 100K in the MRR in the
mm,
backend for the company. So those are two of my goals for 2025.
mm,
I think I can brute force my way up to 300K a month with just
mm,
hiring more closers and focusing on the front end. But
mm.
again, I do believe it's very stressful where
Yeah,
every month you start back at zero and you have to redo it,
yeah.
especially at the beginning. I think that was very heavy on my mind, and I was stressing all the time. I was like, okay, last month was great, but am I going to be able to replicate that this month?
Mm,
But now I've just done it so many times, and I have such a big team that for that to happen means that not only did I screw up,
mm.
20 other people on my team will have to screw up as well. So it's very
Yes.
hard to believe,
Mm,
but it's more so just peace of mind because I don't know. A business is supposed to be an asset that just grows on its own, makes a bunch of money, and you don't have to spend too much time on it
mm,
once it's fully built and it's running well. And the
mm.
way I have it operated is if my closures get, you know, I pray that that doesn't happen. But if they get hit by a bus and they all die,
Okay.
we die as well. I'm going to be stressing a lot. So that's something I want to work on for
Yo, I love that. I actually love that, and it's very interesting. It seems like you and I also have the same goal for 2024 because my goal is also 300K a month as well too with it.
nice.
So it's really awesome that you say that. There's a lot that I would definitely want to dive in with you on about those as well too, guys. This has been bloody amazing. As you can see, Oliver is a stand-up guy. Next episode, we're gonna be diving into scaling to $1 million a month. And, Oliver is probably gonna be back here,
Let's
saying
go.
talking about that. That's my guy. Oliver, if people, because I know you're in the space, a lot of people that are also like watching stuff like this,
Mhm.
they are going to be curious about getting into contact with you and everything of that sort. What is the best way for them to reach out to you? Maybe even DM you the word growth or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, what is the best way for them to reach out to you and contact you?
Yep, 100%. So if you want to get to know me, of course, I have my YouTube channel. I'm sure Kofi can put a link to that in the description. So
100%.
that's going to be a great way for you to just learn the basics of how to build your first business, especially if you're a beginner. That's what I focus on, is people who are just starting out. I
Mm,
was in your shoes 2 years ago. I was a full-time college student trying to make it out of the basement, and I made it happen. So my goals, my dream is to help as many people as I can replicate
mm,
that level of success.
mm,
If you want me personally to help you, I'm always open on my in my DMs on Instagram, so you can
mm,
just DM me, and I'm very transparent. I like to help people. Again, the whole reason why I started my YouTube was to get in contact with more people, just personally help them, give them
mm,
advice and all of these things. So,
mm,
if ever you have any questions specifically for me, you want me to view your business or really whatever there is to start an online business,
mm,
send me a DM on Instagram and I'll happily reply to you and we can have a conversation on there. But yeah, YouTube and Instagram, those are the platforms where I'm the most active. Trying to
mm.
be more active on TikTok. That's going to be the goal.
That's gonna be the goal.
That's going to be the goal. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Shoot. Hopefully they don't ban TikTok as they're planning.
Yeah.
Trump is trying to stop it. So we're gonna see how that goes. Oh goodness, bro, this is so fucking awesome. Right before we head out, I wonder what final words do you have for our viewers and listeners here?
um, Something that stuck with me, I heard this somewhere.
Mm,
One of the worst advice that I've personally gotten is be realistic. So I reverse it. So if there's one piece of advice that I can tell you is don't be realistic. Set crazy goals, set ambitious objectives in life, and
mm,
just work crazy hard to attain them. So don't listen to people, especially that people who aren't like in a situation that you want to be in life. Like, why would you take advice from them? Like, they
mm,
haven't lived the life that you want to do. And most of the time, if you do speak with these people, they will tell you your goals are unattainable, you're not realistic and stuff like that. I say fuck them and prove them wrong. And that's what I had to do countless amounts of time to a bunch of people that I know in real life. And now, funny enough, things have changed. Now they come to me, they're like, I always knew this was gonna work. I never doubted you for a second, even though I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's not true, bro. um, but yeah, don't be realistic. I think
mm.
that's a very good motto to have in your head. Set
Man,
unambitious goals and just work hard towards them. What do you have to lose?
what do you have to lose? Exactly.
Exactly.
Dude, man, Oliver, this has been an absolute pleasure. Guys, as you can already see, Oliver is a G, an absolute G. He is real. He's authentic. He's making 100K a month all the time. And he has dropped so much value, so much bombs over here. So please, definitely go give him a subscribe if you have not on his YouTube. Go follow him on Instagram. Reach out to him if you need to. And follow his content because he drops this stuff consistently all the time, just showing you how you can actually help grow your business 0 to 1K, 0 to 10K above. He doesn't hold anything back. Oliver, brother, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on to this. And that $1 million a month, once you hit that, bro, just let us know we're back here
We'll get
talking
there. We'll
about it
get there.
again.
Thank you for
Awesome.
having me over, Kofi. This was
Of course.
a very great talk. This is probably one of the best conversations I've had in a long time. So I'm very happy about this.
Hey, my guy. Same here. Same here, brother. Appreciate it. All right, guys. You guys take care. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Peace.